So, welcome everybody for this chapter 4 of Bhagavad Gita summary. I would like to introduce to all of you Nityanand Pran Prabhu. He has been guiding me for past several years in my journey towards Krishna. So, welcome everybody for this chapter 4 of Bhagavad Gita summary.
We should close the YouTube window.
Okay.
Or mute it, I think.
Yeah. So it's an honor to have Prabhu with us. He is an active speaker and leader. He has been a counselor also in the ISKCON Chicago community for past 20 plus years. He has led college outreach efforts at the Illinois Institute of Technology, where his beloved presence for the past 15 plus years is helping the program grow into the university's most active student group. He has been the president of ISKCON Chicago and Naperville centers. He's well known for incorporating storytelling to convey complex philosophical ideas in an easy and relatable manner, which we will see soon. He's a certified parenting and couples coach, helping his clients discover breakthroughs in parenting and relationships. And he's here to for me to discover breakthrough in learning Bhagavad Gita and for all of us. So over to you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Seema, for inviting me. Studying Bhagavad Gita is always special because it is one of those books that has essential principles fully packed. And every time one studies it, there is something new to learn. Although I've been studying it for 23 years or even from my childhood, but each time there is something new and almost a discovery of sorts. So before we begin, we offer our respects to our gurus, because of whom we have some understanding of Bhagavad Gita, especially the founder Acharya of ISKCON, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Om Ajnanatimmirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langhayate girim yat kripatamaham vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam. Our Vedic scriptures and books convey complex ideas through some simple stories. And I'm going to narrate to you two stories that form the frame for Bhagavad Gita chapter 4. The first one is my favorite story. There was a washerman who had a very loyal donkey. And that donkey used to bray at the end of the day after a long day's work in a typical voice that was hoarse. But for the owner, the sound was very sweet. So he named his donkey Sunanda Gandharva. Gandharva is someone who has angelic voice. So after many years of service, this donkey died, and the washerman was very sad. So, like the tradition in India, that when a family member passes away, the other members of the family shave their head. So, this washerman went by the river and had a barber shaving his head. While this was going on, the king's minister was passing along, and he saw that the washerman was shaving his head. So he thought something important is going on, and he asked the barber, "What is going on?" He said, "Sir, today Sunanda Gandharva died." And the minister said, "Oh, I did not know that." Because hearing the name Sunanda Gandharva, he thought it was some important person. So the minister said, "Shave my head also." And then the minister went to the king in the court, and the king saw the minister and said, "You look different. Why did you shave your head?" And the minister said, "Oh, my dear king, your majesty, today is a very special day. Today Sunanda Gandharva died." And the king said, "Oh, I did not know that." And he called the royal barber and said, "Immediately shave my head." And as the barber was sharpening his razor and about to shave the king's head, the queen walked by. And the queen said, "Oh, my dear king, why are you shaving your head at this hour?" And the king said, "You did not hear? Sunanda Gandharva has died." So the queen, who's very intelligent, asked the question, "Who is Sunanda Gandharva?" And the king said, "I don't know. The minister said Sunanda Gandharva." So he summoned the minister and said, "Hey, minister, who is Sunanda Gandharva?" And the minister said, I don't know. I saw the washerman." So they called the washerman. And the washerman said, "Oh, my dear sir, Sunanda Gandharva is my donkey." And everybody started laughing. The queen was laughing at the king, and the king was embarrassed. And the king learned a very important lesson, which is true for all of us also. That what the queen asked, no one else asked. That before you accept something, you find out whether the information one is true and where it comes from. And it is this point with which Krishna starts chapter 4. He says that knowledge for generations and generations has been passed down from one to another. What kind of knowledge? The answer is every kind of knowledge. Both material knowledge and spiritual knowledge. Today, in the world, especially in America or in other parts of the world, universities that have been standing for many, many, many years have a certain reputation because they have stood the test of time for hundreds of years in disseminating knowledge from one generation to another generation. If this knowledge about science, music, art, commerce, business, architecture, medicine, all of this is important to have tradition, then what to speak of spiritual knowledge? Spiritual knowledge, especially, cannot be just made up by anybody and everybody. Although nowadays we do see that. That knowledge that has stood the test of time is considered authentic. And for it to stand the test of time, it has to be passed on in a certain generation. Otherwise, anybody can make up anything in the name of knowledge and make a lot of money. Actually, they say that so-called religion or spirituality is the most lucrative business. But this is not about business. This is about learning how one can know the purpose of being a human being. Why? Why am I a human being? Why am I not a dog or a cat or a fish or a bird or an insect or even a tree? Why am I a human being? And now that I'm a human being, what am I supposed to do? So the Vedic knowledge says, Athato Brahma Jigyasa. Ataha, Ataha Brahma Jigyasa. Atha, Ato Brahma Jigyasa. Atha means therefore. Ato means now. Therefore, now inquire into Brahma, into spiritual or spirituality. Nobody starts a sentence without giving prior context. So the word therefore indicates that now that you find yourself in this state of life, like today, if you have never asked this question, today would be the day. And Ata means now. Therefore, now that you have a human form of life, ask about spirituality. Spirituality means, why do I see suffering in this world? Why are people fighting with each other? Why is my mind always disturbed? Why is there suffering? Why are some people born rich? Some people are born poor. Some people work very hard. Some people don't work at all. Some people work a lot and make a lot of money. Some people work a lot but don't make any money. Some people don't work but make a lot of money. Some people don't work and don't make any money. Some people are happy. Why do good things happen to bad people? Why do bad things happen to good people? Etc., etc. And most importantly, who am I? Why am I on this earth in this year or in this age? What am I doing here? What am I supposed to do? When I look around, I always see that someone is born and someone keeps dying. And in between is something we call life. And what is one supposed to do? It seems like most people are earning money and becoming famous or trying to become famous. Is that what I'm supposed to do? What happens to fame? After a few years, people forget. They forget even when one is alive. There are many film actors, musicians, athletes, artists who were very, very famous when they were young. But when they became old and retired, nobody knew whether they're even living or dead. Nobody cared whether they have any money or they're dying in poverty. Nobody cared or followed up whether they're dying of any disease. So that fame or so-called success has its place, but is that the ultimate purpose? So what is it? That is what one should inquire. And Krishna says that kind of knowledge, that's the last verse of chapter 3, that knowledge by which one gains a transcendental understanding. Transcendental means beyond this body, outside of this body, above this body, above, to find out what happens in existence outside of this world. Am I this matter, earth, water, fire, air, ether? Is that all I am? Am I just a collection of atoms? And Krishna says this knowledge has been passed on for millions of years. And by the way, Arjuna, I am the one who spoke this knowledge to the sun god, who then spoke it to Ikshvaku, his son, who spoke it to Manu, who spoke it. And like that, for generations, it has been coming down. Unfortunately, that has been broken. And so today, I'm telling you again, Arjuna. So Arjuna has a doubt. I'm about 70 years old, maybe a little older, 90 years older. And you are only 120 years old, Krishna. You're saying that you spoke to sun god millions of years ago? How is that possible? So Krishna says, oh, I have appeared many, many, many times. And so have you. But the difference is I remember, but you don't. And you don't remember because you are thinking you are this body. And so your memory is finite. It's only within a lifetime. We don't know what happened in my past life. I don't know what's going to happen next. All I consider reality is between these two end goals of birth and death. But Arjuna, for me, I'm transcendental. I am not limited by this body. And because I'm fully spiritual, I have full memory of all my appearances. And why do I appear? Whenever I find that this spiritual knowledge becomes weak in this world, people are not living by what we say dharma, which is my intrinsic nature, or when people forget the purpose of human life, I come into this world again and again to establish this knowledge for the benefit of humanity. There are many, many persons who want this kind of knowledge, but there are some forces that stop. So I come to remove those negative forces. And I come to establish this knowledge. I create a sense of balance and equanimity in this world. And that is why I appear. Now, when I appear, not everybody accepts me. Some people have a doubt. Is this really God? Some people are very against me. They want to kill me. And some people are attracted to me. They love me. And to each and every one, I interact, I reciprocate according to how they come to me. Because I'm very neutral. Those who love me, I'm like a mirror. Those who love me, I reflect love back. Those who are neutral to me, I reflect neutrality. Those who are angry at me, I reflect anger back. Because you cannot blame a mirror. A mirror is very neutral. Whoever stands in front of the mirror, that's what it reflects. I cannot stand in front of the mirror and just say, why am I not good looking? Because it will only reflect what is in front of it. So Krishna says, that is who I am and I come here. But Arjuna, to be able to understand this spiritual knowledge, you need to get rid of three things. If you have these three, it's impossible. Oh, what are these three things? This sense of dogged attachment to things, that saying, this is mine. Actually, it's a good exercise that people should make a list of all the things in their possession that they call as mine. My computer, my phone, my house, my property, my body, my car, my, everything is mine. That's that attachment. In Sanskrit, it is called raga. Okay, that's one thing. What else? Krishna says, the second thing you should learn to give up is bhaya, fear. Fear comes from the idea that I have something that I might lose. The sense of loss creates fear. I may lose my property. I may lose my wealth. I may lose my life. I may lose my beloved relative. I may lose money. I may lose this job. I may lose this opportunity. I may lose this idea. I may lose whatever it is. And therefore, everybody lives in some sort of fear. Actually, fear is a motivator that makes people work very, very hard because they want to hold on, which time, as it moves, loosens one's grip on anything. But we think that's how to do. And because I work very hard and yet I'm not able to continue holding on to things, I become frustrated. And that's the third thing to give up. Krishna says anger. Vitaraga, bhaya, krodha. So Arjuna might think, that's impossible. It's not, I show me Krishna. Is there anybody in this world who's been able to do that? And Krishna says, yes, not one or two, many. Bahavo jnana tapasa. There are many, many jnanis and tapasvis, those who have performed great austerities, those who are very, very knowledgeable in the science of spirituality. They have been able to give this up. And they have come to me. Oh. So Arjuna is curious. How am I to learn this knowledge? And so Krishna says, you can't just Google this. You need a teacher. Like any knowledge, one has to learn from a teacher. Even if one goes to Google, somebody is actually writing it. Google didn't make it up. Somebody is writing it. Somebody has given this knowledge. Google is a good place to search through it, but it's not creating knowledge. It's just searching. Knowledge cannot be created. It's always been existing. It's just been passed down from one place to another. Knowledge is like electricity. I am sitting in my room. The source of electricity is some thousands of miles away. But it comes to me, it comes to you, it comes to anybody when I plug in my device to the socket in the wall. And it's available. So there is a whole arrangement for passing down electricity from the source down to me. Similarly, there is a whole system by which this knowledge from the source, that is Krishna himself, all the way down to me. And the person who's giving it to me is called Guru. Actually, gurus, multiple, because we learn from multiple people. And how am I going to learn this? So I just go and hold their neck and collar and demand knowledge? No, 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 Arjuna. You can learn this by having three qualities. One, you should be willing to set aside the idea that I know. You should approach a teacher with the idea that I want to know. And you should ask questions. Because if you don't ask a question, it means one of two things. One, you understand everything, you accept completely everything, or you don't understand anything and you don't accept anything. Only these two people never ask a question. But those who genuinely want to know will have a doubt. Oh, what if this, then what that? What about this? What about that? And the third is, from those who you are learning, you need to express your gratitude by some expression of service or seva. This idea of I know, there's a beautiful story. There were two roommates. And one of the roommates wanted to learn guitar. So he found a teacher who told him, I will charge you $20 an hour to teach you how to play the guitar. So he accepted. He came back home and told his roommate. And his roommate said, oh, I also want to learn the guitar. In fact, I had taught myself how to play. I'm self-taught. So let me go to your teacher and ask him if he will teach me. So the teacher asked this person, the second roommate, oh, do you know how to play the guitar? And he said, yes, I have taught myself. I'm actually very good. I can play a few songs, etc. How much will you charge me? And the teacher said, your roommate, I'm charging him $20 an hour. For you, I will charge $40 an hour. So he was surprised. Why are you charging me $40 when I know how to play? And the teacher said, yes, the first $20 is to make you unlearn all the nonsense you've learned on your own. And the next $20 is to teach you the correct way. So Krishna says to Arjuna, Pranipata means you go respectfully. You don't go in a way to know, how much do you know? Let me see. You go to know, I don't know and I want to know. And one should ask thorough, thoughtful questions. All right. And those persons who have seen the truth will also give it to you. Actually, it is said that it is very easy when there is no light or not enough light. If there is a rope fallen on the ground, somebody can mistake it to be a snake. And they project the idea of a snake on a rope, and immediately their heart rate increases. They become fearful. But if someone who's carrying a torch of light comes and shines it and says, that's not a snake, it's a rope, all the fear goes away. Therefore we say, Om Ajnana Timira Andhasya. I am completely deluded in darkness. I can't tell the distinction between one thing and another thing. However, my guru comes with the torch of knowledge and opens my eyes. Jnana Anjana Shalakaya, with his knowledge, he puts the ointment of Jnana. So I can see Chakshur Unmilitam. He opens my eyes to reality. And therefore, I offer my respects unto my guru. Not everything we see is reality. Not everything we hear is reality. Not everything we smell is reality. Not everything we taste is reality. And not everything we touch is reality. Our senses can be defective. Not can be, are defective. We wear specs. If we turn off the lights in the room, we can't see. We can't hear what is happening in another room. If in certain temperatures, our touch works, in some temperatures, our touch will not work. For example, if you keep your hand in the freezer and then you try to touch something, the sense of touch doesn't work. So we can make mistakes. Once a Brahmana, after performing a yajna in someone's home, he was gifted with a goat to take back. So he was carrying the goat on his shoulders and walking back. There were 5 thieves who saw that the goat would make a great lunch for them, but they had to take it from the Brahmana. Now they can't steal from a Brahmana because they were afraid maybe the Brahman will curse him. So they plotted, how do we trick this Brahmana? So they came up with this idea that they will place themselves at some distance over miles away from each other and play with the Brahmana's mind. So as the Brahmana was walking by, the first thief met him and said, oh, Brahman, how are you? Nice to see you. How are you? Oh, I'm good. I'm good. Thank you. How are you doing? Oh, good, good. Oh, I see you're carrying a fine donkey on your shoulders. Brahma said, donkey? That's not a donkey. That's a goat. Goat? It looks like a donkey to me. Brahma said, oh, foolish man. You can't tell the difference between a donkey and a goat. Go away. He kept walking. Some miles later, the second thief met him and he said, oh, Brahman, nice to meet you. What's up? How are you? Fine looking donkey you have there. He said, oh, are you crazy? You're like the other man who thinks this is a donkey. This is not a donkey. This is a goat. Goat? Looks like a donkey to me. And he continued. So like that, the third one, fourth one, and the fifth one said, oh, Brahman, you're carrying a donkey. And he said, no, it's not a donkey, it's a goat. And by this time, he looked at the goat and he said, 5 people say this is a donkey. I'm seeing it as a goat. Something's wrong with my eyes. Why am I carrying a donkey? I have no use for a donkey. He left it and went away. And the 5 thieves caught hold of that goat, nicely butchered it, and had lunch with it. But the idea is, because 5 people kept saying it's a donkey, it's a donkey, it's a donkey, the Brahmin assumed, oh, it must be a donkey. So Krishna is saying it's very, very important to know the truth from the right person. And such persons are called Tattva Darshi. They have seen the truth. And that seeing means they've experienced it. It's not just that they have no idea, they've experienced it. And what is the right qualification of being a guru or a teacher? That person must have a teacher. And their teacher must have a teacher. And their teacher must have a teacher. Otherwise, anybody can make up stuff. And Krishna says, once you have such knowledge, you can never fall into illusion. Like the Brahmana thought, oh, this must be a donkey. Because he is awakened to true knowledge, he cannot be cheated. He cannot be tricked. He cannot be misled. This kind of knowledge, unlike regular mundane knowledge of engineering, physics, chemistry, computer science, medicine, art, music, poetry, this knowledge about the soul does one thing, that it burns one's karma from previous lives. Karma is that by which it decides what kind of body we get, what features of my body I will get, how much intelligence I will have, how long I will live, who my parents will be, who my friends will be, what kind of work I'll do, how many diseases I will get, how I will overcome them, how much money I will make, how beautiful family members I might have, etc., etc. All of that is determined by karma from what we have done previously. But that karma, because generally we think of karma as only bad things, actually good things are also karma. So to suffer bad things, one has to take another life. But to enjoy good things also, one has to take another life. But the idea of transcendental knowledge is to break that cycle of birth and death, and be living as a fully spiritual entity, not cramped, trapped in a body made of mucus, blood, stool, urine, pus, marrow, etc. It's a bag. We're carrying a dirty, smelly, degrading bag. And we want to live freely without it. So Krishna says, one who has this knowledge can attain the highest goal of life. Actually, the highest goal of life, Arjuna, is to know me and be in a relationship with me, knowing me as Krishna. But if a person doesn't have that interest or neglects it or thinks of this as useless, such a person cannot become happy, either in this life or the next life. Actually, knowledge is said to be liberating. Ignorance is entrapping. Sometimes people say, ignorance is bliss. That's true. Ignorance is bliss, but that bliss is of a very low grade. Knowledge is a bliss of a higher grade. So Krishna ends the chapter by saying that one who has this transcendental knowledge is free from the bonds of karma. Therefore, Arjuna, right now you're thinking of not fighting, but this is your dharma. And when you have this knowledge, and then you're armed by it, you will become even more elevated. So don't say you don't want to do your dharma. Stand up and fight this war, which is important for you, because that's what a Kshatriya is. Now, one may say, why is Krishna enticing Arjuna to fight? I was once presenting at Northwestern University, and there were about 150 students in the class. I was invited by a professor. And after my presentation, the professor and I were sitting and having a little beverage together. And he asked me, he said, I've been studying Buddhism for many, many years. And there's something about Hinduism, about Bhagavad Gita, that's always been very confusing for me. And he said, I hope you can help me with this. The question he said is, why is Krishna asking Arjuna to fight? So I said to the man, the professor, okay, let's take a step back. Today, do you believe that the police that we have in our society is important for us? Oh, yeah, absolutely. I said, what does the police do? Well, they make sure that there is no crime and they protect us. Okay, very good. What if there is a burglary happening or riots happening, and you go and tell the police, please intervene here and stop it? And the police says, no, I don't like violence. I'm not going to do it. What would you say? He said, first of all, I'll become very scared that my life will be in danger. And second, I'll become upset that this is your job. And I said, that's exactly what Krishna is telling Arjuna. This is your job. You are meant to protect people so that these kinds of persons like Duryodhana and all that on the Kaurava side are not going to destroy this peace of the world. Then the professor said, oh, I never thought about it that way. And I said, but Krishna is asking Arjuna to fight with his own family members. Isn't family members supposed to not fight with each other? I said, okay. Let's assume you, the professor, are a police officer. Yeah, okay. And you find out that your brother is a drug dealer. What would you do? He said, it's very hard. I said, exactly, very hard. But what is the right thing to do? He said, the right thing is to abide by law, even if that is my brother on the other side. And I said, that is what Krishna is telling Arjuna. You're thinking your brother, but you're not seeing what is the law. Follow the law, follow dharma. And he said, I never thought about it this way, but now I can understand. I actually like the Bhagavad Gita because now I understand what is going on there. So this knowledge about the soul, the purpose of human life, etc., is all there. It just needs to come through the right channel. And that channel is being discussed in the 4th chapter. So thank you for your attention. Are there any questions or comments? Any reflections that you'd like to make?
I like the flow, the way you described knowledge in universities comes in a descending fashion. And so any knowledge has to come in a descending fashion.
Yeah.
And then to receive transcendental knowledge, one needs to get rid of 3 things, meaning the raga, bhaya, and anger. And to receive knowledge, the mood has to be like inquiring respectfully and then rendering service with gratitude. Yeah, the donkey story was nice.
Both stories were about a donkey today.
Yeah, I felt like I closely related with the brahmana who was carrying the goat. I'm like, yeah. So, thank you so much for sharing with us. I would like to invite Rajendra. Rajendra, do you have any questions before we wind up?
No, he said, thank you for your nice speech. No comment. Thank you, Rajendra ji, for your comment. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Vaishali, you have anything?
Um, like we always like we know that the knowledge should be authentic and it should come through descending like order in a way that we can have a faith on it. But like people ask how even that we should authenticate whether this coming descending knowledge is also authentic,
Right.
like or the people are authentic.
So there are two things. Are the people authentic and there's the knowledge authentic. So let's take the knowledge first. Where does knowledge come from? That's the first question. So Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, it comes from me, from him. And it is called Shastra. And the way to verify Shastra is that it goes beyond time and space, meaning what was valid millions of years ago is valid today. But you can't say that about science. You can't say that about medicine. You can't say that about computer science. You can't say that about engineering, because what was valid then may not be valid today. What is valid today may not be valid 1,000 years later. But spiritual science or spiritual topics or spiritual knowledge stands the test of time. Second is the test of space. It's not that it is only valid, the idea of soul only exists, let's say, in one part of the world, and it's not applicable to other people in the world. It's applicable to every human being. And there are these bodies of knowledge that are verified not by any other means, but by experience. One has to take the only test. For example, how do you test sweetness?
Yeah.
Eat it. You don't know. How do
Mm.
you test love? Unless you experience love, you to see two people in love, you can't tell. But unless you experience love, you don't know what it is. So the finest things of life are experienced, not observed.
Okay.
So transcendental knowledge has to be experienced. That tells you whether what's written and what's experienced have convergence or not.
Mm.
For example, just for the sake of argument, atom, right? We know the structure of the atom, but you and I cannot verify it.
Mm.
I don't have the means, I don't have the tools, I don't have the knowledge by which I can verify the structure of the atom. I have to just accept it. But when it comes to spiritual knowledge, I don't have to just accept it. I can find out for myself. You can find out for yourself. She can find out, Rajendra can find out, anybody can find out for themselves. It's applicable to everybody.
Mm.
That is the difference.
Okay. I like the it's valid like time and space. I like that example because when someone asks me, I always tell, okay, because I have experienced, you have to experience it. That's it. But this time and space makes sense. Like it's uh it's like more convincing. Thank you.
Someone may say, I have my experience. You have your experience.
Hmm.
And the answer is, all right. Let's see whether this experience is consistent. Because in science, two things are right: predictability and consistency. Both need to be there.
Yeah.
So, can we look back and make sure that your results are consistent? What you're experiencing is consistent with the experiences of all the great sages? Is it predictable?
Yeah. Thank you, because I always stuck on this question.
Good question. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, Seema, I think we're at our time now.
thank you so much for joining and helping us understand transcendental knowledge, the most difficult subject to understand.
No, thank you for inviting me. It was a delight to be with you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Hare Krishna.